I live in a small town in Wyoming, on the outskirts of any big city, a rural place where everyone knows each other. I vaguely remember walking back from school later than usual. I took a shortcut through the nearby park. It was getting dark, but the sun was still up just enough to bathe the dimly lit forest in blue. It felt so peaceful. The wind gently rustling the trees, shaking spiderwebs, plants, and flowers. Then, all at once, everything stopped. The grasshoppers went silent. The frogs stopped croaking. Even the wind felt like it had frozen in place. Before I could even turn around to see what was happening, I heard a sudden shaking of bushes behind me. I woke up in my bed. My backpack was exactly where I always throw it. My shoes were off. My phone was on my nightstand, plugged in and charging. The time was 5:30 p.m. And here's why that confused the hell out of me. That shortcut takes at least 45 minutes to walk from school to home. Either someone had driven me here, or I had run the whole way. But I know myself. I sweat a lot, and my face was completely dry. I went downstairs to find my mom watching TV. I asked her what time I got home. She barely looked up and said, 5 minutes ago. The only reason I even remember this happening is because I keep a diary, but my recent entries don't make sense. The further back I read, the clearer my writing is. The more recent logs feel disjointed. Maybe I just needed more sleep. That night, I updated my diary and went to bed sometime after midnight. The next day, I walked home with some friends. This time, we all took the shortcut through the park while the sun was still up. We passed a couple of kids playing with a ball, their laughter echoing through the trees. It felt normal, even made me remember those times when I was little. We sat down on a fence hidden behind some trees and bushes tangled with spider webs. My friend pulled out a couple of cigars and we started smoking. Then we heard it. A soft thump, a crunch of leaves. The ball the kids had been playing with had bounced toward us, stopping just a few feet away. We waited to hear them calling for it. We waited to see them, but the kids were gone. The laughter had stopped. The playground was empty, with only the sound of the wind shaking the trees and grass. We put out our cigars and started looking for the kids. I remember hearing footsteps, light, careful crunches on the leaves. We were searching for 4 kids, and it sounded like 4 pairs of feet were walking through the leaves, moving together, in sync. Then my friend called out. We both turned toward him, and then I woke up. Not in my bed this time. I was standing in the hallway outside my room. My phone was on the charger. My shoes were neatly placed by the door. The time was 10 p.m. I checked our group chat. The last thing posted was a deleted image. I sent a quick message to check on my friends. No response. They were probably asleep. They have better sleep schedules than I do. The next day at school, I went to my friends from yesterday to ask what had happened, especially about the part where they wanted to show me something. They told me it was something they couldn't really remember, but they vaguely recalled seeing a weird bird's nest, except it was much bigger than normal and covered in long strongs of cobweb. After school, I decided to avoid the shortcut through the park. Reading my previous diary logs, I saw how weird things got every time I went through there. So instead, I took the normal route, public street lights, other students walking, and a few illuminated buildings nearby. This time, I walked with my other friend, Mari. Instead of talking about school, I told her about all the strange things that had been happening, how my memory had gotten worse since that day, and about the missing kids. She knew the mother of the kids. Apparently the kids were fine. But when they returned home, they were covered in filth, sticks, dead leaves, even spider webs. Mari said that was strange because those kids were terrified of spiders. She joked about how those kids must have the same bad sleeping schedules because their memory has been going bad. Her mother has to remind them not every day is Saturday. We kept walking, enjoying the conversation, our voices and footsteps filling the silence. Then, suddenly, we both stopped, like we felt something. A murder of crows burst from the trees, startling the hell out of us. It was just that. After a deep sigh of relief, we kept walking and chatting. I asked Mari if she remembered anything about the times we went out to the park as kids, and the times we would see deer in the park, and how the deer population had steadily declined through the years. She said it must have been the recent hunting laws, even though not a lot of people like to go hunting nowadays. I'm not sure what happened, but I was somewhere else. It was still the same town, but Mari wasn't there anymore. Our conversation had been interrupted by a loud, violent shaking of trees and bushes, just like when the crows flew away. It was dark, a deep, unnatural kind of dark. A chill ran up my spine, the worst I'd ever felt. I pulled out my phone and switched on the flashlight. I was in the park, at night. Panic surged through me, and I sprinted toward my house. I could feel something chasing me, not just footsteps on the ground. I heard branches snapping behind me, louder and louder, closer and closer, like something massive or a lot of things were moving through the trees or climbing through the trees. It got closer, so close I could feel its presence right behind me, inches away. I turned my head for just a second, and then I woke up. I was on the couch. For a moment, I told myself it was just a dream, but my face was drenched in sweat. My heart pounded like I had actually run a marathon. I felt a sharp pain in my leg and neck. I went to the bathroom to check myself up better. My leg and neck was covered in strange marks I had never seen before. They looked like bruises, but instead of turning purple, they were a deep orange, arranged in an eerie pattern of triangular shapes. I went to my parents' room to show them, but the room was empty. They were probably out for dinner. I checked my phone. It had finished charging, but now it was broken. The side of the camera was completely shattered. The screen was flooded with notifications, dozens of missed calls. Some of them were reminders about my phone bill, long past the due date. Something wasn't right. I wasn't sure when I had last gone outside. My hands were shaking as I checked the date. March 10th. An entire week had passed. I felt my stomach drop. My breath came in short gasps as the realization hit me. I had lost an entire week of my life. Panic set in. I didn't care that it was 2 a.m. on a weekday. I desperately called my friends. No answer. I opened our group chat, hoping for some clue, something to explain what the hell is happening. I wasn't sure when I had last gone outside, but today was March 7th. An entire week had passed. Panic surged through me. My hands shook as I desperately called my friends, even though it was 2 a.m. on a weekday. No answer. I checked our group chat, and what I saw sent a chill through me. The messages were bizarre, as if my friends were asking questions about things they had already forgotten. It was scattered, disjointed, until one of them casually mentioned that he wanted to start keeping a diary, just like me. If I couldn't remember, my diary would. I rushed upstairs to my room. It was a mess. My belongings scattered everywhere, my window wide open. I never leave it open, not even in summer. I reached under my bed, where I always kept my diary. It wasn't there. I was the only one who knew where I kept it. A sickening hunger gnawed at my stomach, so I went downstairs to grab a snack. But when I opened the fridge, I nearly gagged. Rotten vegetables, meat covered in a thick layer of mold, leftovers I didn't even remember saving, and spiders scattering out from the food. And there, sitting inside the fridge, was my diary. I snatched it and flipped to the most recent pages. The entries stretched from February 16th to March 9th. February 16th. The last time I clearly remembered. Walking home with Mari. Then I woke up outside my room, covered in dead leaves, sticks, and cobwebs. My mom told me to take a shower. I didn't question it. At first, my memory gaps were small, just an hour lost here and there. Then it became 2, then 4, then 7, and then days. My phone buzzed. A message from Mari. "Are you okay? I heard you were gone, but then I saw a picture of you." So I texted. My fingers shook as I typed back. "Something is wrong. Can you come over? I don't want to be alone right now." I kept reading. My diary mentioned something disturbing. My parents had been acting strangely. My mom, who always made breakfast for all of us, had suddenly started only cooking for my dad. It was like they forgot I existed. I had to remind them they had a child. And they had the same bruises I did. I flipped to March 9th. The page was covered in dried blood, or maybe paint. I couldn't read it. I heard a tap. Soft, deliberate tapping against the living room window near the kitchen. I turned toward the door. The same tapping. But now, from the opposite side of the house. From the second floor windows. I froze. My skin crawled. The tapping grew louder and louder, until I thought the windows would shatter. I checked my phone. My message to Mari was still unread. Whatever was outside wasn't Mari. Then thud. A heavy sound, like something dropping onto the porch. My breath hitched as a stack of letters fell through the mail slot, scattering onto the floor. The top envelope was from the electric company. A final notice. They were shutting off the power on March 10th. The power was already out. Weak sunlight filtered through the curtains. What time is it? I rushed upstairs, flipping frantically through my diary, back to one of the last pages. March 9th. I could barely decipher my handwriting. Mom and Dad aren't coming back. They were in the car. I heard a balloon pop. But it wasn't a balloon. There was too much liquid. The ground was wet. It was blood. Spiders everywhere. Before that, I swear I heard something walking on the roof. It was like just one person. Then 2, then 3, and 4. I turned it to the last page. I could barely make sense of my handwriting. The kids, Mari and my friends, have gone missing. The last thing they did was send terrible memes to the group chat. A search party was conducted, but it only lasted a few hours, with the search police officers being covered with the same bruises or scars. Their reason was because the forest had been searched thoroughly. But I know it's bullshit. The parks is deep. Too deep. The entry cut off. Then I hear footsteps, like how I read on the diary. On the roof. Soft at first, then multiplying, growing heavier. Exactly like the diary described. A horrible chill raced down my spine. Just like that night in the park, when I knew shouldn't turn around. But this time I did. And I saw it. Those giant, unblinking, soulless, evil eyes. It was the face of a spider, but the most horrible one anyone can think of, just staring at me. Staring at me through the window. I couldn't scream. I dropped pathetically onto the carpet, my limbs weak, my breath ragged. I tried to crawl backwards away from the thing at my window until my back hit the wall. The monster was still staring at me. Then slowly, it moved upward. Its body shifted too smoothly, too perfectly as it climbed onto the roof. I saw its 8 legs skittering across the surface, the kittenous limbs moving too fast, too somethly, and that fucking tapping. Then I remembered. The window. It was still open. I turned just in time to see it enter my room. It shouldn't have fit. It was too large, its body far too massive for the window frame. And yet, it squeezed through effortlessly. And those eyes, oh God, those 2 soulless, evil eyes never left me. But it didn't attack. It just stared. The chill in my body deepened. My skin crawled not just from fear, but from something worse. Something inside me. I could even feel the knot in my neck. The knot, I felt it begin to move from my throat to my tongue. Then I vomited. From the few scraps of food in between the bile, I saw black, eerie spheres. Those spheres began to twitch, and they grew legs and began to scatter away. Some of them climbed into the big monster. They were accumulating into its abdomen or belly. It already had at least 1,000 of those tiny spiders wiggling around the monster. It made me vomit again, but this time spitting out more tiny spiders. Some of them crawled to me, but I felt too weak and in pain to do anything. The cold became unbearable, a sharp, spreading agony. I convulsed from the terrible pain I felt on my back. I screamed, because I could feel it. Something bursting through my back. I could feel my back growing and growing more, and thousands of tiny needles dancing on top of my spine. I cried of pain, and from all the adrenaline is when I finally understood. The spider was a mother. It wasn't after me. It was looking for its babies. That's the last thing I remembered until I woke up. But I wasn't home. The room was too white, the air smelled sterile, and the steady beeping of an electrocardiogram filled my ears. I was in a hospital bed. I turned my head and saw Mari sitting nearby. She looked worried. She told me the doctors were treating me for a car crash. Most of the damage was on my back, but I was lucky. It wasn't fatal. I would need to stay in the hospital for a while. The doctor came in to check on me and gave me news about my parents. They were alive, recovering fast. That should have been a relief, but something didn't feel right. I asked about the accident. What exactly happened? According to the police, they found our wrecked car with a fallen tree crushing its roof. There was so much blood that a nearby patrol car stopped to investigate. That's how they found my parents. But they didn't find me there. They found me in my bedroom, collapsed on the floor, as if I had just been plugging in my phone to charge. I had vomited from the adrenaline before passing out completely. None of it made sense. I didn't tell anyone what I remembered. A week passed. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't forgetting things anymore. No amnesia attacks, no strange gaps in my memory. It was as if nothing had ever gone wrong. But I finally pieced it together. It wasn't my sleep schedule. It wasn't stress. It all started the night I took that shortcut through the woods. I had this weird feeling, the same feeling I'd written about in my diary right before every single memory lapse. And the only time I didn't experience one was that morning when I saw it. The spider. Those 2 massive, soulless, inhuman eyes still haunt me. That thing did something to make me forget. It must have. It laid its eggs inside me and left, only to return later to do the same. Again and again, until I stopped leaving the house. And when I did, it came straight to me. It knew exactly where I was. It was waiting for its children to hatch. I thought I was losing my mind. Then I was discharged a few hours ago. I returned home, and everything was normal. My parents were fine. They acted like their usual selves. No one mentioned anything strange. No one talked about the accident. Maybe I had imagined it all. For the first time in a while, I went to bed early. My wounds were still recovering. I was just thinking Evering was just some weird delirium. Until tonight. I woke up with the worst coughing fit of my life. My chest burned, my throat seized, and something came up. A small, twitching black shape. Then it moved. Tiny spike legs erupted put of it and began to move vigorously. I crushed it instantly. No hesitation. And that's when I knew. It was real. Everything really happened. I rushed to find my diary. I needed proof. Something to remind me in case I started forgetting again. It was gone. I searched everywhere. Under the bed, inside the closet, behind the desk, nothing. My phone was gone too. The only thing left was my computer that I mostly just use for games or videos, and where I found this unfinished draft, the one I'm writing now. I scrolled through what I'd written, the memories of me, Mari, and my friends, the attacks, the thing in the woods. I know what's going to happen to them next. I have to help them. But how? That spider didn't kill me because I was carrying its children. Now that I'm not useful anymore, what happens next? It must have known it needs living hosts to keep its babies alive. Why else would it have not do anything the moment I saw it? I used to see deer in that park all the time. And at least for now, it doesn't have a taste for humans. But if you ever find yourself walking to home from your work or school, and you make it home not knowing how, just don't make it too obvious that you know something is wrong.